All right, so today we're going to talk about density. In class today, we gave definitions and we did some problems, so I'm going to go over that again just in case you didn't understand it the first time or if you were absent. So density is the topic. Density is the ratio of material's mass to its volume. The SI units for density is kilograms per meters cubed or grams per centimeters cubed, any of those prefixes, but it has to be grams and meters, okay? So grams per meters cubed. And mass is the amount of matter in an object. Its SI units are grams. And volume is the amount of space taken up by an object, and its SI units are either liters or meters cubed. Okay, so we're going to work some problems with this equation right here. Density equals mass divided by volume, and then this right here is the actual equation, D equals M over V. I also have a triangle you can use. It's up to you which way you want to use, which way you want to do it. This is the only thing you're going to be given on a test, so you either have to know how to use the triangle and have it memorized, or know how to manipulate that equation right there. So I'm going to show you the steps on how to manipulate that equation right there. So the first step is to identify what you're solving for and put a box around it. Okay, and I'm going to go back to the triangle. The second is to get rid of the denominator. Third is to rewrite the formula. Fourth is to fill in any numbers and then solve the problem. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to manipulate this. I'm going to do it on a different sheet of paper because I've written this once already. So we have D equals M over V. Okay, so if you follow the steps that I just spoke about right here, I'm going to bring it up so you can see both. You're going to first identify what you're solving for. So if you are solving for M, which is mass, you would put an X around it so you know which one you're solving for. That's what it says to do first. Then you would get rid of the denominator. So the V is the denominator, which is the one on the bottom of the line, the equation, okay? So you're going to get rid of the V. Now to get rid of the denominator, you're going to have to do the inverse operation of divide, which is multiply. So we're going to multiply both sides by V. Okay, so then you cancel these two out, and now you have M by itself. So the new equation looks like this. So mass equals D times V. Now this equation here is your second equation that you're either going to memorize or you know how to manipulate this to find it. So M equals dV is your second equation. Your first one is still D equals M over V. Okay? So we're now going to figure out how to solve for volume. Okay? We already have the first step for that because you still have to get rid of the denominator. But now you want to get V by itself because you're solving for V, right? So if you're solving for V, you have to do this step first, and then you have to do another step. So because we're multiplying, the inverse operation of multiplying is divide. So we're going to divide both sides by D to get rid of the D, and then we're going to rewrite the equation to this. So now you have your third equation. So these are your three equations. I'll rewrite them one more time. D equals M over V if you're solving for density. M equals dV if you're solving for M. And V equals M over D if you're solving for V. All right, so you can also just memorize these three equations, or of course, as I said, know how to manipulate the equation, because this equation right here is the only one you're going to be given on the test. Okay, now the triangle version. Now the triangle is a shortcut way. Some people like it and some don't. It is really up to you if you want to use it or not. Okay, this is what it looks like. You have to memorize it if you're going to use it. Okay, of Of course, it's just one triangle instead of memorizing 3 formulas, but it's up to you. Now, the way this works is that if I have a problem, and I'm going to do number 1 on the handout we did earlier. Give me 1 second. I got to find that problem. So if I have a problem, 1, and it's D equals 63.25 grams per centimeters cubed, and M is 13.8 grams. We're looking for volume. So we don't know what volume is. So the way you use this little triangle, either you can just go up here and use this equation, V equals M over D, and plug in the numbers, or if you don't want to do all this, try to remember those equations. This actually, if you cover V, will tell you what you're looking for. So I put it in purple, so let's do red. If it's on top of M is over D, that's just like over here where M is over D right there. So it's division. If it's over the top of it, you're going to divide. Now, if it's across from each other, you're going to multiply, okay? That's how this triangle works. So, if you're solving for V, if you cover V, it's M divided by D. That's your equation. So, V equals M divided by D. And then you just plug in your numbers. So, M, this is M. Make sure you put the right numbers in the right place. Sometimes they'll be smaller on the top than they are on the bottom. Divided by 63.25 grams per centimeters cubed. Now, you need to put the units in the problem. When you do this, it helps you to single out what the unit will be of the answer, okay, because we're looking for volume. Now, you could remember that volume is either going to be liters or meters cubed, and then that means that this is the answer for your units. Or you can just cancel out the ones that are similar or the same, and what's left is what you use as your units. So when you actually calculate this problem, you get 0.297, and then the units is centimeters cubed. Make sure you always write your units. I do take points off if you don't write units. All right, so I'm going to do number 2. Well, I'm actually going to do number 4, which we did in class, because it is an example of solving for mass. So it's density equals 35 grams. This is grams, sorry for my messy handwriting, per centimeter squared. Mass is what you're looking for, and volume is 47 centimeters cubed. So in this one, we're looking for mass. So you can either come back up here and just use the equation you already found, but if you're only given this, you got to find it. Or you can use the triangle, and you can cover up mass and know that D times V is what mass is. You can do it this way, or you can just put them by each other. It's completely up to you. I'd get this confused as an X, but it's a multiplication sign, so I like writing it this way. It is really up to you how you write it, okay? So I'm going to figure this out. So just multiply the two numbers together. M equals D is 35 grams per centimeters cubed. And as I said, always write the units because it helps you figure out the problem. All right? If you multiply these two numbers, you get 1645. And if you cancel out the similar units, you end up with grams. So the answer is in grams. All right, so I'm going to do one more problem. It's one from the homework because I don't have a density solving problem on these questions. So I'm going to go straight over here to the homework, and I'm going to do number 5. So if you watch this video, get 5 for free. I also did number 3 already, but I'm going to show you the steps for it so you're not confused. So D equals M over V. That's the basic standard equation. It's right here at the bottom of the page too, okay? So we're going to put in the mass, which is this number, over the volume, which is this number. Okay? And when you divide that, it should be 2, if I remember correctly. 70 divided by 35 is, 70 divided by 35 equals 2. Guys, always do equation practice with your calculator. Do it twice always, because sometimes when I put something in there first time, it doesn't come out. And then I do it again and it's not the same, and then I realize that one of them's got to be wrong. Okay? So now that you have 2, now with solving for density, there's no canceling out. Nothing is the same. So that means you keep both of them, grams per milliliter. You keep both of these units, the grams and the milliliters, and those are your units for the question. All right, so hopefully this helped. Please let me know if you have any questions.